And what I want to show you today, because we're into pneumatics, and everybody, or most, I know several have already completed the first two segments of the pneumatic lab work. It gets a little more involved, and we have to pay attention to the components we're using. I've already ran into several issues where people thought manifolds were items that weren't manifolds. They were piloted valves, not manifolds. So, paying closer attention to the components we pick up, and that goes back to the familiarization part that is in the first part of the pneumatics. If you look in there, it'll give you a better description of what each component looks like, and that's what we need to revert back to instead of sitting there and kind of picking through each one. All right.
Well, the reason that we do it that way is because it's faster than getting on a laptop and scrolling all the way back up to find the symbol.
I understand, but how much time did you spend on with the piloted valve before I set you up with the T? And it wasn't working. It wasn't going to work. So just sharing with you so the rest of you all can benefit from that. The other thing, if you haven't set up and been with Mr. Zuby or myself for advising for your fall semester, you need to do so. We have your alternative PIN number, so there's a calendar, or actually a sign-up sheet on the door for A13, the office, on the hallway side. So if you haven't, get with us. We'll run you through all the different particulars, because if you just try to do it yourself, times that our classes are starting are not the times classes are starting. Good, I'm glad you had that confusion in your face, because you should have.
No, it's my clone that had a problem.
Oh, Lord, give me strength. Two. No, what I'm getting at is, it's still work in progress with what Mr. Zuby and myself submit to the registrar committee, and what we receive back for times for classes. All right. So if we leave things as it is, your mechanic, so your what is that? I guess it's your fluids too. Anyway, would be like from 6:30 to almost 9 o'clock at night. I'm gonna run you from 5 to 6. So if you don't come to us, first thing, you can't register because you don't have the alternative PIN. You can't register without alternate PIN number. All right. And it's different. The one that you get for the summer is different than the one that you get for the fall versus the one you get for spring. All right, we never give you the same PIN number because we want to be involved with the classes you pick. All right, that makes sense? So, and the other thing is, if there's anything that could, because of the way it's listed in there for the classes, if there's a time conflict for something you're picking, we can give you the paper so you get the override for the time conflict. Does that make sense? All right. So that's the reason it's very important for you all to schedule this, get it done now, because if there's some gen eds that you need, they may be filled up before you get in there if you wait. All right. If it's just the mechatronics classes, I'm sure you got some leadway then. However, if it is a Gen Ed class you're needing, you want to get that done now. Now, we got some that have the opportunity to graduate a little bit earlier. I believe, Dustin, you're going to be among one of our first ones to be graduating because you have most everything you need. Not that I'm picking on you, I'm giving you the kudos for the fact that you have this already under your belt, so you're in a position to be one among the first. So, guys, understand this, so we get you on the right path, and we're also going to attribute you, or so we can speculate what year you are intending to graduate. All right? So enough said on that. Is there any questions about the labs or anything else in regard to the lab?
Why did the pneumatics lab that we did today say it was electrical control?
I don't know. 'Cause,
It wasn't.
It was, but it was out of the electrical section. but we'll get more into it, because I want us to see some electrical aspects of it. And that's the reason I picked some of these, but I also want you to see some various cylinders and understand why the formulas were done the way they were. I mean, when we get into industry, you're gonna see cylinders from what we call pancake cylinders. They can be little bitty jobs about this big around and only this tall. They may only have anywhere from 1/4 inch to 1 inch of stroke. But they have, because of the diameter, a large amount of lifting capacity. You can have 6 inch or 10 inch bore with only 2 inches of stroke. They really don't need to move it very far, but they need a lot of lifting capacity. That makes sense? So Festo and others have made some real nice cylinders. They can, lift a large amount of weight and have longevity that generally outlasts the equipment. So we'll put that into perspective. We'll take a look at a couple of these videos. We're going to go on YouTube and pull up some more. But I want you to see some of the aspects of the pneumatics.
Long time no talk. Sorry about that. Just a lot going on. Hopefully with the holidays I'll have a little bit more time to do some.
If we need to turn that other light out back there. Jeff, can you get that, please?
But I find more and more that there's some kind of a mystery associated with pneumatics for some reason. I take pneumatics for granted because I think I was first introduced to pneumatics
Now,
in Lego.
Bimba makes a nice cylinder. However, their cylinders are generally disposable cylinders. In other words, you don't rebuild their cylinders. If you look, it's a crimp design around the barrel of the cylinder, so you're not removing either end of that to do any repairs.
There's multitudes of different ways of doing different things.
But because of the design, they're generally,
You can have a lot of fun with pneumatics.
in terms of a cylinder, relatively inexpensive.
Pressures, you can maybe animatronics to scare the kitties in the yard on Halloween, which is kind of one of my personal favorites. So anyway, so what you see is just a small sample of what's out there.
This is similar to a pancake cylinder.
Just like hydraulics on a tractor or construction equipment. You basically take a medium and you force it into a cylinder, in this case air. And so if air comes in this bottom inlet right here, there's a piston inside the sleeve and it forces the piston to rise. So the air volume fills up the bottom of this chamber.
Again, that's another bit of a
This is
cylinder.
dual-acting cylinder, meaning that I can push air into it and make it extend, and I can also push air into it and make it retract. So when it extends, air is going in the bottom, it forces the piston up. When it retracts, air goes in the top, and it forces the piston back down. And that's simply it. You may see a cylinder that only has one inlet, and that means it's a single-acting cylinder, or sometimes a spring return cylinder. If you've seen the chop saw clamp that I made, that's a spring return cylinder. You give it air, it extends. When you take air away, it naturally retracts because of the spring. The spring is taking place of the dual acting part of the cylinder, meaning that you don't have to induce air into the system to make it reverse the action that it just did. The spring does that for you. So if you've seen
Takes a while to catch back up. I didn't like it when I did that, apparently. But it's not offering.
when it's resting, the way I've got it cloned, it naturally extends. And so when I counteract that, it sucks it off, and then I let it go back home and it extends again. It does have a second position where I can push it forward, but that doesn't do anything in this scenario. Just one example. These are usually called pancake cylinders because obviously they kind of look like a pancake. This one drives that point home even more. This is made by Bimba, and it's a flat cylinder. Very little force, not force, very little extension from the cylinder. I'm not even sure what it is. It might be a ½ inch or so. But this would be great for like a clamping fixture or something to where the movement isn't that large. You just need the pressure behind it. With this line nut installation tool that I made, I believe I was running it at about 100 PSI, and you could actually see the MDF pull up, so it was probably a little bit more, but it definitely did the job as far as installing those blind nuts as quickly and straight as possible. Some of the brand names I've got here, Bimba, Festo, SMC. This is an interesting little cylinder. It's kind of a smaller bore, but I do have these pressure adjusters or airflow adjusters that are on it, so you can dial in how fast or slow it extends or retracts. This is a non-rotating cylinder, so instead of it being round here, this is actually hexagonal, so it cannot turn. I used this on one of my first Halloween props, and it's for a low volume, you get a lot more bang for your buck as long as you're not trying to move a lot of mass. It doesn't require a lot of air to run that cylinder, so that's good. This is a Festo rotary cylinder. By default, it returns to in between 0 and 90 degrees, so right now it's at 45 degrees. If you give it air one way, it goes full, plus say 90. If you give it air the other way, it goes to 0. This has hydraulic dampers in it instead of pneumatic dampers where you're adjusting the pressure or you're adjusting the flow rate. This actually has hydraulic dampers so that when it starts to turn, it hits a point to where it cushions the blow. Hard to talk about, can't really show you. I can feel it as it moves easily, and then it engages the hydraulic damper, and that just slows it down to give it a cushion stop in both directions. Could be fun for Halloween as well. This is the one I showed you a minute ago. Very simple, much like the SMC. This one has a round shaft, so this whole piece can rotate. There may be installations where you need to make sure that does not happen, and that's where a non-rotating cylinder will come into play. I believe I got all of this stuff off of eBay, and usually you can find these things in lots. You might pay $10 or so, and about that much in shipping, but you'll end up with.
But you get an idea of the different style cylinders that you can run into and all the different configurations. And that rotary actuator, we've used those a lot, especially when we were trying to take and prevent people from accessing something until we wanted them to.
Cylinder I have. This is
Like a gateway?
Exactly.
Down to 3/4 just to get it usable for me. It does have valves on each end, and it's a massive cylinder. You can move a lot of weight with that. I made a pop-up ghost with this one time, and I think the sound alone was enough to scare everybody. Real quick on the
He has too
valve
much
side,
time on his
you see
hands.
me use things like this, if you saw the Halloween videos. This is just an electronic way of doing the same thing that I'm doing with this switch right here. Basically, air comes in, and depending on the coil.
All right, I'm gonna look up some more of them on YouTube. Check that out. Now this, don't get any ideas about doing your ride this way. You can see y'all now bouncing up and down the parking lot out here.
Will that shock into the leg?
No, there's actually using nerve impulse to activate the bladder as you would for walking. So what they've done is for people that's had amputations, they can pick up the nerve signal and actually, when your mind's trying to tell it to do something, it activates the artificial limb. What do you think about that scenario?
That's pretty awesome.
Might actually try that out.
Huh?
Yeah, it just seemed like a full
Well,
Pneumatic
but
link.
what they're doing, what they want to show you is how they were picking up that signal.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, like, to see the full finished product.
What's that Intel sign thing? Is that a pneumatic hand? Intel sign,
Second one from the
CMU.
bottom.
Let's find out.
There are currently 33.3 million people across the United States who are classified as either deaf or hard of hearing, many of them employing the use of American Sign Language in their communication. This becomes problematic for some, as there are many people who are now well versed in ASL.
I don't think this has anything to do with pneumatics, but we'll see where it goes.
The solution? Our product IntelliSign is designed to surmount this language gap and facilitate communication between ASL and non-ASL users by converting physical sign language into audible speech. Composed of 5 flex sensors and an accelerometer mounted on a neoprene runner's glove, with the processor, power source, speaker, and other peripherals mounted on the wrist, this prototype gives a natural and comfortable feel while at the same time maintaining full functionality and ease of use. No device currently exists to allow for mainstream use to communicate between ASL and non-ASL users. This new device will revolutionize the way ASL using people communicate with each other as well as with other people, so that instead of what we had before, we have this.
Could be just like a regular piece of paper.
What's the bottom one right there in the corner?
George.
This one?
Oh, it's Debbie gone.
All right, we're recording. I don't think it's as sophisticated as you thought it was. I think the Tin Man has more.
Jeez. Start.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, this one next.
Sure.
Then we'll get back to some pneumatics. But yeah, I think we regressed here on our.
Yeah.
All right, we're recording.
Wonder if they're recording.
Oh, where's Freddie at when you need him? And he had bungee cord on the back of it.
There are currently 33.3 million people across the United States who are classified as either deaf or hard of hearing, many of them employing the use.
Half of them are in class here. Oh, no, no.
They do have a pneumatic hand that uses a tube, like a surgical tube, and it operates like a bladder, so that you got some smaller pieces that are in between. And when you turn on the air, it operates those
Just
pieces
a conventional orthopedic
by
knee brace,
expanding
and
between.
mounted on it is this aluminum chassis. And in this chassis are gears.
There are currently 30.
Let's go to thickness blades. Hold on. Here's your electrical and pneumatics, and they're using vacuum and pneumatics as well as electrical. There it is. got a couple of pancake cylinders, you got vacuum generators, you got linear actuators.
That boy might also have a vacuum pickup.
You think can you get it on eBay?
Oh, it's a circuit board, isn't
Yeah. Sound like it's getting tired.
it? It does use a vacuum pickup where it goes down and sucks and then lifts and drops. So that's part of the pneumatic system.
It may be. I guess the volume for that one's not working.
Oh,
Kind of good thing they got the camera there, huh?
That's very exciting.
What's it eating the board up with?
That's the most tedious job.
Wow. See what the quad laser does. Yeah, this is not where we want to go. That's a little more, at least you're seeing something being done. Gives you an idea how fast and precise this can be done. I'm sure it could go faster.
How much of that is pneumatics though?
Huh?
How much of that is pneumatics though?
The plunger is probably pneumatic. A little bit of that goes a long way though. I believe a lot of this is pneumatics, Ed.
Yeah.
feel like all that's units moved it into a box.
Yeah, I was wondering why they just didn't put them on the conveyor belt. They're dropping them anyway.
It's probably cheaper.
Either that or there's some inspection going on when they do it.
Might be.
They're using,
There's pancake maker right there.
that's picking up pancakes.
They picking them up. I saw a thing on television that these people, it's one college, they was trying to come up with the best pancake for this business. And they had several different designs. And they had them put them into a conveyor belt and all these different things. He had 3 teams.
Who
Went
won?
them and everything. They put the pancakes and everything. He's pretty wild.
Hopefully they'll show you closer. There you go.
Put them together.
Oh, there's a lot of pneumatics involved with this.
Yeah.
Might be to making nickels or something, you know. Spending dollars to make nickels.
Yeah.
So a lot of pneumatics involved with that, Ed.
Quite a few springs.
You think? A lot of sensors too, I'd imagine. You notice all the profile, this aluminum structure around it?
Yeah.
You see how, I mean, it's for a modular build, you'll see a lot of extrusion being used nowadays when it comes to automated equipment.
It's really clean inside of that too.
Don't need to see syringes. Custom valve index are automated. Packard, they haven't been out in a long time.
They really want you to know about it.
Yes, they do.
I would imagine that rotary cup mover goes only one turns for the idea of using a solid steel like stop, you know, to make sure it hits the exact spot.
Kind of look at this sortation part here.
Stuck in the side of the pan when we smashed.
It's been refined, I'm sure. decorative or insulated?
Jars.
Insulated jars. Unless it's for a decorative purpose.
I'd make candles. The wax and that.
Oh, and Mr. Zuby and myself, we did visit Macy's, and they have a great deal of conveyor they're gonna be donating to the college, as well as gearboxes, motors, but we'll be getting some rollers to be able to rebuild, to reload bearings into, so there's a lot of good stuff coming that way, plus Ecolab is getting with all their other facilities to get us process equipment, so just keeping y'all abreast that there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline that's gonna make this whole program even better. Now, this seems rather simplified, but there's your pneumatics. You got a sensor checking it, it passed, simple conveyor system. Now, here's a breakdown area. I can change out the little type of picker, and these are cylinders that you can purchase. Small 5/32 tubes for airflow. Doesn't take a great deal of air, and they got a real good gripping force to them.